All right, we're live. Hi, I'm Dan Kingerski on the Pittsburgh Hockey Now platforms. I'm a few minutes late. Trouble getting into the studio. I had a meeting in Robinson, and wouldn't you know it, every Yahoo was on the Parkway West inbound, and then there were school buses. Excuse me, school buses. We had a lunch meeting. School buses all over the north side, and so on and so forth. But we're here now. Before we begin, want to send along our deepest condolences to all of Ray Shero's colleagues, many of his friends here in Pittsburgh, and obviously his family. The former Penguins general manager passed away just a little while ago. The Minnesota Wild PR department announced it via Twitter that he had passed. So obviously, Shero had a couple of Stanley Cup rings with the Penguins, largely responsible for taking Craig Patrick's vision and really supercharging it, getting it to the next level. And Patrick obviously got to draft Marc-Andre Fleury, Brooks Orpik, Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin. I believe it was Shero who drafted Jordan Staal and kind of began building in the trades. Shero was kind of a master at those trades. He won a whole lot of deals back then. Case in point, Marian Hossa. Respect, Arm Dog. For Marian Hossa, for Colby Armstrong, Eric Christensen, and Angelo, the Penguins' top draft pick prior. Forgive me. He never played in the NHL. I forget his first name. It wasn't Anthony Angelo, but you get the idea. That's and a number one pick. That's what the Penguins gave up for Marian Hossa. That's what Ray Shero did. So certainly send along our condolences. So here's what's going to happen on the live chat today. We're going to get into it all, quite frankly. The rookies, the necessary Angelo Esposito. Thank you, Steve Nash. I had the Angelo part right. Angelo. Is it Angelo Esposito? I'll have to look that up. Yeah, poor guy had concussion problems out of hockey a few years ago. But the rookies, the necessary changes, what you want to talk about as well, because we're kind of getting into a very interesting moment once again in the Penguins fan base. We're kind of reverting back to where it was when I started or restarted in Pittsburgh, kind of back in that 2015, actually like 2014 to 2016 range, when all of the fans knew everything, led by a couple of tastemakers and the most miserable and the unhappy and just the most stubbornly obstinate sort of thing. And I always felt like I was part of the tip of the spear that broke through that and put a few people to the side by bringing a lot of hockey knowledge to the table. And you make a lot of enemies doing that. I can't guarantee I'll be always kind. I'll try to be funny about it usually. But last night, here's a case in point as we get into talking about the rookies here on the live chat. Case in point, first period didn't really go well for either team. Quite frankly, it was even worse than Sunday. Terrible. Absolutely god-awful first period. If you weren't done watching the grass grow, you were looking for the paint to dry. So Mike Sullivan flips things up. Like, yeah, let's try this. He changes Rutger McGroarty, puts McGroarty on Evgeny Malkin's line, and puts Ville Koivunen on Crosby's line. Within moments, the intelligentsia is like, see, Mike Sullivan, that's Mike Sullivan hockey. And it wasn't just one person making a lot of noise. It like spread like wildfire. And I'm watching this with bemusement, befuddlement, and a bit of disgust because it's like, look, Ville Koivunen earned some time with Sidney Crosby. It's okay. He is also a young player who will be around for a long time. Chill. But the idiots just seem to dominate the conversation. And I don't know how this is a quirk of human existence. They spread a lot faster than smart. They just do. And I was I was a bit befuddled. Like, what? Yeah, he's going to try Rutger McGroarty with Evgeny Malkin. Oh no, the poor guy's being punished. Or Koivunen being, sometimes you just can't get around the stupid. And if this past week has taught you anything, it's that I do not unnecessarily defend Mike Sullivan, and that I will not defend him when he certainly doesn't deserve it. We kicked him pretty good on Monday, and I have some more written word to the negative to talk about here over the next couple of days. So we're going to start it off with Michael Thompson. Goalies for next season, Jari and Murashov. I believe Ned will be bought out this summer. Well, they wouldn't have to really buy Ned out. I mean, you're not going to spread $2.5 million over a couple of years. That would be kind of defeating the purpose. What they are going to do, Michael, and I believe Kyle Dubas, when he says this, is they're going to fling the doors open. They're going to let guys come to camp, and whoever is stopping pucks will be the goalies. Murashov probably has the longest odds because, he still has a few rough edges. He's stopping a lot of pucks in the AHL. But he's got some rough edges. Don't get prospect blindness. Where everyone says, oh, they've got great potential. Let's see what they can do. That also makes me want to just, tie the noose around the archway over here. He's going to have some work to do. He's probably the best of the five, don't get me wrong. But he's probably not the best of the five yet. If I had to bet, I think it will be Jari and Nedeljkovic to start next season, Michael. But by January, kind of on that Matt Murray timeline, we're going to see Murashov. I suppose we shouldn't forget Joel Blomqvist. He got rocked pretty good recently, didn't he? He came to the NHL that second time, and he got lit like a Christmas tree. I would suspect he's not going to just sit on his laurels and say, I gave it a good try. He's going to be working as well. I'm sure he learned a lot. Took a minute to digest as well. He might come back. If there's one goalie to be supplanted, it would be, I suppose it would be Nedeljkovic. But then again, Jari has to hold up his end of the bargain as well. That was one of those answers on the road trip that kind of made me shake my head and walk away when because many of you read the feature story we did with Tristan Jari. He was very gracious, open, candid in talking with us. He gave me a few patented, kind of stock answers. And I had time, because it was just the two of us, where I could push back on some of those, or I could wait a minute, the old journalism trick, ask the same question with different wording. And I thought we kind of got a bit deeper into Tristan Jari. And believe it or not, he's since continued about that candid sort of streak. Last night, he was pretty candid as well. I was like, dang, I wish you'd told me that in our feature story. But because basically what he said was he was overthinking the technical side of the game in the first half of the season. He was getting too caught up in trying to be perfect technically and not just going and playing. And that's maybe the big difference. But Jari has to hold up his end of the bargain. And so Nedeljkovic is probably the low-hanging fruit, but they're not going to buy him out. You stash him in the minors. Dave needs something. Probably technical. Yeah, give me 1 second here. I'm going to help Dave out because I'm not doing anything else right now. So let's see. Let me see here. What was I talking about?
Let me let the. Okay, so I forget where I was. I love Dave, but sometimes I'm a little busy. Let's see here. Okay, Jake Bacon. I think Jake Allen would be a good option if Jari is bought out or traded. I suppose so. My gut, which is certainly fallible, as fallible as anybody else's, my gut says if they don't have Jari next season, first of all, they're not going to buy him out at this point. He has probably played well enough to avoid a buyout. If they do trade him, I would have to think that they're going to rely on that three-headed monster finding one of the two goalies of Philip Larson, Murashov, and Joel Blomqvist. I would be hard-pressed to say they bring in someone like Jake Allen. Also, Jake Bacon. Jake Allen, unfortunately, for the NHL, will be a bit in high demand because the free agent goalie market is terrible. The fact that you're bringing up Jake Allen is probably the best free agent goalie tells you everything you need to know about that part, right? Boy, Will Bradley goes right into you guys are all talking goalies today. This has kind of shocked me. Steve says, thanks for doing these Q&As and covering all the games. Yes, I have done 79 straight Pittsburgh. Well, actually, not counting last year, too. Yeah, I've done all 79 games this season. As far as I know, I am in line to be the only writer in the league to do all 82 games. I hope you appreciate the insane effort that we're going to at this point. It's been a trip. Oh, I don't know. I worry about Karens coming after me if I tell this story because I had just a terrible flight out to St. Louis because the person sitting next to me could not be confined to one seat. And so I realized this as I'm taking my seat, like, oh boy, why am I sitting here? Like, this isn't right. So I'm pressed up against like the window, literally like this. Well, the other person, has a seat and a half, can't put the armrest down. The flight attendant comes over to tell me to put my seatbelt on, and then very quickly realizes why I don't have my seatbelt on, and he just walks away. She just stops mid-sentence and keeps walking. I was like, help. I'm looking at her begging. Like, surely there's another seat somewhere. Surely. And I tell this story only because as I got up to deplane after we landed in St. Louis, I stand up to get my bag and I realize the row behind us completely empty. This is the fun that you have when you travel with me. It's like all she had to do, all the flight attendant has to do is say, ma'am, would you be more comfortable in the row to yourself? Or sir, would you like to move back a row and have the row to yourself so you two don't have to share? Would have been just fine. That's all she had to do. So I let my airline know, and they sent me a lovely gift basket of frequent flyer miles. You had a question about Philip Hollander. Are there? Well, listen, I don't know if there is truth to the reports or not. I would suspect there are. I don't know. I'm not going to call anybody else into question. They're reporting. I don't have any firsthand knowledge of the Philip Hollander situation. Where does he fit next season? Good question. The Penguins will certainly have lots of openings on the wings next year. They won't hold a space for him, but I would assume he could earn one. I would expect him to be a lot better than he was when he left North America, because he really wasn't much of an NHL player when he left. We'll see. Flux. Should we be reading anything into Sullivan getting called into a meeting immediately following last night's game? That was odd, wasn't it? I had a choice. I'm sitting there like, what do I do? Because, the Penguins tell us, oh, David Quinn's going to talk tonight. Mike Sullivan's in a meeting. We didn't want to make you guys wait. Okay. Fair. I appreciate that. It's odd. It would certainly, I would assume, not have been a meeting about something that could have waited. So from that standpoint, I would assume it was something of importance, something that needed to be addressed, discussed, learned, known, shared. What it is, I have no idea. What you want to read into it, I know, is that Kyle Dubas told Mike Sullivan he doesn't have a future with the Penguins organization. I highly doubt that to be the case. I mean, look, since I don't know, anything is possible, but I don't feel like what you want me to say is the truth. Big Joe, do I like any of the new signings from the Baby Pens? Looks like they added some size. Also, rest in peace, Ray Shero. When they start signing players to AHL deals, that they're kind of under my radar. They're outside my scope right now. Until one of them starts to make some waves, starts to look pretty good, starts to play some games, until one shows NHL potential, then I'll pay attention. But right now they're just AHL folks, and I've got my plate full. What do I think the Penguins can realistically do to improve the top 4D? Bring in better partners for Letang and Carlson, or move one of them? Yes. There is not a person on the blue line, except Ryan Shea, quite frankly. I would also say P.O. Joseph should return, but he just seems to have his own room in Mike Sullivan's doghouse, which I think Sullivan has erred in that regard. Everybody else, there have to be some real changes to that blue line, because individually they all have some talent and value. None of them are terrible human beings. None of them are bad defensemen. Certainly, Carlson is a Norris Trophy winner with unbelievable skill. Chris Letang is still one of the most unique defensemen in, quite frankly, in NHL history, with what he can do. And, he can be scrappy. He can be incredibly, offensively gifted, and he can get around the defensive zone. But put them all together, and it's just awful. It's not bad or problematic. It's awful putting them all together. So if you're asking me what can they do to change, they need to make significant change, whether it's a pair of left side defensemen who can be steady, who can create trust with their partners. We're talking Brian Dumoulin types. When Chris Letang knew, Letang used to, Letang would do some crazy stuff. He would do that in part because he knew Brian Dumoulin had his back. He knew that Dumoulin could be trusted to clean up. If his gamble didn't work, there was, a safety net. That safety net is toast. I don't know, honestly, I don't know if Connor Timmins I know nothing about his game at this point, and the Penguins have had him for a month, and that's because he's been playing with Erik Karlsson, and Karlsson hasn't been very good. Timmins has been shoved to his backhand. I don't know if the coaches quite signed off on that as much as Karlsson took it and the coaches just adjusted. Regardless, those two should never be a pairing. Ever, ever, never, never, ever. And, you got this odd third pairing of a pair of lefties. So you have a pair of righties on the second. I don't get the blue line construction, but yeah, major changes. I think they need to sit down, see who's actually going to be available via trade, via free agency, restricted free agency, and really make a go at improving the defense. Well, Keep didn't allow a goal from Ovi. Who is Keep? Do you mean Blomqvist? Oh, yeah. SNB games like, yeah, Yoel. Yeah. Let's go to Parky. Was Ville always the main prospect piece in the Jake trade? I always thought it was Ponomarev up until recently. No. Ville and Michael Bunting were the two prime gets. They got Ponomarev because they could give him a chance that Carolina couldn't or wouldn't. And then Cruz Lucius. I don't know if you saw the news. Cruz Lucius was, involved in that trade, playing at Arizona State. His older brother, Chaz Lucius, who's, I think, almost, was it 11 months older, just had to retire from professional hockey yesterday. And forgive me, I know the syndrome was called EDS, where basically it warps, attacks, mutates the connective tissue to the joints and maybe your organs. Nothing to mess around with. And so medically he was told, yeah, don't play hockey anymore. And, obviously he listened. Let me share this real quick here on Twitter. It's tough for me to shift gears when I'm so laser focused on this stuff. Then I have to just jump over to my keyboard and do all of this. I literally ran in the door, took off my shoes, took off my coat, and sat down to start the live chat. It was that quick. So let me share the chat on Twitter, which is like 8. Okay. All right. I am back somewhat focused here. I will talk a bit about Ponomarev for a second for you, Parky, because I have not seen the same things that the Penguins have talked about in Ponomarev's game. He's got speed, he's gritty, he's tenacious. He's all those things, but I didn't like him at center in the prospects tournament. I didn't see him driving offense. I didn't see him creating. I saw him chasing, which red flags to me. When I've been down in Wilkes-Barre, I've seen kind of that same. He doesn't control the game from the middle. I think he's a winger. In all honesty, I think he would be best served to be cast in a very Noel Acciari sort of role, not a Blake Lizotte role. And the last few times I saw him play, he took misconduct penalties, game misconduct penalties for just stupid things. I saw him take 2 in 3 games, and those listen, you can't have a a wild card like that in the NHL. Of course, I was a proponent of Bobby Farnham once upon a time. Maybe maybe I'm being a little hypocritical, but I don't think that's Ponomarev's game. Bobby Farnham was just electricity on a he could electrify you and electrocute you in the same game. I don't think the Penguins really have much of a desire for that sort of player. Let's go to sports fan. Am I still hopeful on Tristan Brose? I know he missed some time this year. Yeah, he had mono. Curious how his development is going. I remain very bullish on him. What I don't know, sports fan, is if he is a center or a winger at the highest level. When Dave or not David Carl, yeah, David Carl put him in the middle at Denver, his game just expanded, and they got the best of him. Wilkes-Barre Trent has kept him in the middle, and they've gotten, the best out of him. I've always felt like, though, his skills should translate more to the wing. I mean, he's got filthy hands, just absolutely thick hands, and he can scoot a little bit. I don't know. We will see. I have all like, when I ask about Tristan Brose, when I ask members of the organization, I always sort of get a little bit less of an answer than I'm expecting. Take it for what you will. His development has been very good. I was, kind of asking Rutger McGroarty, "Come on, man, where's Broser?" Because that was the line of Wilkes-Barre. McGroarty, Brose, and Cleveland. They could have a whole Jock Calendar, Mike Needham, and Dave Mikhailuk going on. So, that's one of those things where I'm telling you, I think he could be an NHL center, 3rd, 4th liner, kind of, with really good hands, but I'm also balancing my analysis with my reading tea leaves from the Penguins organization that they're still wondering about him. Shane Spiker, what can the Pens do next year with the defense? Seems most of the top 6 are under contract. Yeah, the Matt Grzelcyk is not. I mean, Ryan Shea, Ryan Graves, Chris Letang, Erik Karlsson, that's 4. Connor Timmins, rights owned, that's 5. I think you'll see Owen Pickering next year. You should see Owen Pickering next year. But where he fits and all of that, I'm telling you, Shane, I'm glad I'm not in charge of it because I would have a great temptation to absolutely hit the reset button or the nuke button. I would probably keep Chris Letang if he wanted to stay. Owen Pickering, I'd sign P.O. Joseph, and the rest. Oh, Ryan Shea as well. I would start with those 4 and try to add 3 more and see what I could do. But that's much easier said than done. I can say what should be done, what's available, what's possible, entirely. Um, nope, there are no updates on Rutger McGroarty. They're off today. They're not gonna release any news, until tomorrow. Parkey comes back with prospect questions. Who in the prospects Dubas would like to bring up together? Who is in the group? Yeah, Rutger, Ville, Pickering, Ponomarev, Brose, anyone else? Um, no, that's listen, Harrison Brunick might sneak his way into that. I mean, look, Harrison Brunick almost made the Penguins, the Pittsburgh training. Uh, in retrospect, he should have. I mean, really, in retrospect, he should have made the team, but no one thought Jack St. Ivany would kind of, uh, lose his way like he did. So that's, retrospect. The next wave will be Brunick, Tanner Howe, and presumably whomever they draft this year. That will be your next, little crop, your wave. Avery Hayes is a guy to watch. He might get a shot. Other than that, I think you've named them all. Sonny says Lemieux. Crosby. Who does Crosby pass it to, or is that person perhaps not yet on the team? How do I answer this? I think this is one of those questions that is for you and I to chew on, but the team won't give that a second thought. The reality of the situation is there's no one like Crosby. Think about this. I mean, 40 years, Lemieux, Yager, Lemieux, Crosby, Malkin. Unbelievable. There might not be anyone to pass that torch to in the terms you're thinking of. In fact, I would say probably not. Penguins just the Penguins are just not going to get a generational talent, statistically speaking. There's always Gavin McKenna, I suppose, next year. They could have 2 whacks at Gavin McKenna next year. Wouldn't that be something? They go from Crosby, and then they add McKenna. That would be extraordinary. It's almost too good. Like, the hockey gods like, hang on. No, 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 no. You can't have a run of 60 years of having one of the game's best players. No, we can't have that. And you'll see the ping pong ball come up, like, explode or something. Something, out of this world will happen. Supernatural, that's what I'm looking for. We'll see. In the terms that you were thinking of, no, don't expect the torch to be passed. Michael says, "Looks like Letang has no interest of being there at all." I hate to say that because I like Tanger. I have said this for a little while, and I can't argue. I will nuance your argument a little bit, Michael, and say that I think the losing or the season has been tougher on Letang than anyone else. JR says if Letang and Carlson were both making 6.1 a year, but you had to get rid of one, which one would you move? Well, what am I getting back? That factors into it. Trading not uh, trading is not about dumping a guy you don't want. Other teams have to want that player, and you in turn have to want what the other teams are offering you. This, we're that's half an equation there. Back to Steve. Not only are McGroarty and Koivunen playing well, guys back from Wilkes-Barre Scranton have played well-ish. They've been kind of in a funk lately. Is the Wilkes-Barre Scranton culture more a product of the young players' personality? The coach need more of that spirit here? That's a really good question, Steve. I thought Kirk McDonald was of a what's the word? I mean, I thought he was, just a bit ho-hum. When he speaks to the media, he's kind of, he speaks slowly and, very Midwestern almost. On the bench, I learned by watching, he's fiery. Like, he can be really fiery on the inside and on the bench. So that contributes to it. Obviously, when you've got a bunch of guys there, you've got this enclave of talented hockey players, all with the same goal. Now, the minors always have a bunch of guys with the same goal, but these guys have a chance, a legit chance. This is the first time in 10 years the Penguins have had this much talent down there. And yeah, McGroarty is kind of a fun guy. Koivunen is he's got a good personality about him. Owen Pickering does certainly. Owen is probably the straw that stirs that drink. Everyone just wants to be around Owen Pickering, and he picks people up, and other people get to be themselves. And so, yeah, you've got a bunch of guys who are enthusiastically chasing a dream all together, all pushing each other and helping each other. And then you've got a bit of an emotional coach. So, yeah, it really is a great cocktail down in Wilkes-Barre Scranton. Let's see here. Gino's contract is up next season. Do I see him signing a one-year deal after this to retire with Sid, or do I think he's done? I think he's going to be done. Just my gut feeling. I don't see him hanging on. I don't see him being that guy who has to be shown the door. That's my gut feeling. I think Malkin might want to spend time with his family. I mean, think about this. This was always extraordinary to me, and I'm not saying anything you don't already know about the situation, but Evgeny Malkin, uh okay, now I'm getting into some stuff I don't wanna talk about. Obviously, you don't see, his wife posting pictures about him on Facebook or Instagram anymore, but, he's lived apart from them for most of a decade. They lived in Miami and Russia and traveled extensively while he was here playing hockey. That always struck me as not best for him, because when his family is around, oh, he plays he plays a full step faster, plays bigger, faster, more enthusiastic when his family is, and I always felt bad that his family wasn't around more. His parents, his nuclear family, all of that sort of. So if you're asking me, next year, is he going to be done? I would think family's going to factor heavily into that decision and situation. Oh, the sound is a little muffled. Interesting. How about now? Let's see. I'm gonna try something. Hang on. Okay. I just did a little reset on the system. Hopefully, it is working. By the way, going in and out. It's odd. Okay, let me know if it keeps happening. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, here it is. Who's got a better chance, Tyson asks, of reaching at least the conference finals, the Caps or the Habs? Oh, I know. I'm like, what is LK? It's IK. What are you texting on like a flip phone, Tyson? I know you're not high on the Capitals, but man, everyone in Montreal is excited right now. Yeah. Uh, who has a better chance to make the conference finals? Clearly, the Washington Capitals. Clearly. But if you're asking me who I'm going to pick to win that series, I very well might pick the Montreal Canadiens. I don't think Montreal could get by Carolina, but how would that be a revenge game, huh?
The Suzuki Ho Revenge Playoff Series. Where can you watch Wilkes-Barre in the playoffs? Well, you'll have to get the AHL TV thing. Is it Flow Hockey that has it, or go to the games? Hey, Dan, I might have answered this already, but is Rutger likely done? Oh, no, we don't know. Just do not know. Big Joe, do I think there is mutual interest in Boko coming back? He's not the most talented, but can play and drags a team to it every time he's in the lineup. Yeah, I would. Good God Almighty, if they don't sign Boko Imama for next year, they'd better have a damn good reason. Plain and simple. It's not like they've got a lot of forwards beating down the door for ice time. Boko brings something they do not have. Boko, mark my words, here I say this. Boko Imama will sell some tickets on what could be a pretty bad team to watch next year. That can't be forgotten either. A few Boko scraps. I mean, you don't want to play Imama 82 games. You just, I mean, you're going to play him 30 games, and you're going to play him the 5 to 6 minutes just to keep other teams honest, just so the other teams know you've got him. And if they cross the line, well, if they don't see him this game, they will see him next game. So there's that. I would certainly hope they re-sign Imama. If they don't re-sign Imama, A, the Penguins are wrong. But B, the other thing that might happen is another team says, hey, Boko, we got some money for you. That might be, and a guy in his position who's going to be 29 years old in August, if a team were to offer him a guaranteed NHL deal, you take it. You just take that money because he makes $400,000 in the AHL and $775 in the NHL. A few $100,000 for a guy in that position, I would imagine, means quite a bit. Gubs or Goobs. Gobs. Do I think the Pens would trade both first-round picks to move up, or does Dubas like the picks? That I don't know. We haven't had a chance to really pick his brain on that. The only Dubas media that he's done recently was a John Shannon podcast, and that was last week. He did that. Certainly, once again, it all depends on who is available. If your first 3 picks are Schaefer, Misa, and Hagens, well, no, I don't think you'd try to move up to 4. At that point, you take your shot with Roger McQueen or Jake O'Brien. Those are my 2 guys that I get vibes from Steve McQueen or Roger McQueen, whatever the case may be. As Gubbs notes, that's assuming the Rangers give up the Penguins pick or give the Penguins the pick here. By the way, Gubbs, that's increasingly unlikely as the Rangers keep just screwing the pooch. They're dropping. They could drop to 10th pretty quickly. And at that point, how do you give up the 10th pick unless you think you're going to stink? Unless you're going to say, listen, we have to rebuild. That would be the only way. I mean, otherwise their fans will go bonkers. Correct Tyson here. No, the Rangers can give up the pick, whether it's 10th, whether it's 13th, whether it's first overall. They can, in fact, give up that pick. It's top 13 protected, by the way. More hockey cards. The sound's been in and out 10 minutes. I apologize. Let's turn it down. Maybe that'll help a little bit. Sorry, more hockey cards. Let's go with Jari's recent success. What's his trade value now? It's still probably next to nothing. 10 or 15 games does not override what happened in the first half of this season, primarily because what happened in the first half of this season was a continuation of what happened in the second half last season. Take a shot for us on what, West West? I'm unclear of what you're talking about. Hey, do me a favor. If you're on Facebook, follow the page, give us a like on YouTube here. Uh, Both give the video a thumbs up, but also subscribe to our YouTube page. Hopefully, that is. Let me see here. Gubbs comes back. There's no chance Heinen is on the team next year? Question mark. It feels different than his first stint. He's under contract. I mean, he is a Swiss Army knife. I mean, you're not exactly going to cut steak with that knife. He is what he is. He's a versatile forward who can score 15 goals every single season, and you might not remember a single one of them. That's just Danton Heinen. Oh, the drinks behind me? There. I guess I do have some moonshine back there. Let me see what I got. I've got some iced coffee moonshine, which goes lovely actually in coffee. This goes really well in coffee. This is chocolate mint, and I get them at Blackbird. I will not be cracking open that tequila, which actually just turned 10 years old. That I've had that tequila now for 10 years as of last week. Good God Almighty. I have not opened it in 10 years. Dan doesn't like to drink at home. That's a slippery slope. On an off day in the summer, if I've already written my articles and I'm not going to hit the motorcycle, I will maybe splash a little of the moonshine in the cup. Maybe only on Sunday. I don't. I've got all the alcohol, and no one comes over to my house anymore, including me. I'm never home. Do I think the Penguins congratulate Ovi during the last game for passing Wayne Gretzky? Interesting, because it will have been 2 weeks old by that point, but the Penguins are classy like that. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes. Let's see here. Tyson, I know you just mentioned you haven't picked Dubas's brain, but where do the Penguins sit for next year? I know the free agency and the draft changes things, but are they destined for a repeat of this year? This is working the phones. I'm sure Dubas is. What was the phrase that Tom Werner used in October? Impatiently waiting or something like. Let me let's see here. Tom Werner, Pittsburgh hockey now. I want to get his phrase correct. Because he used a very specific sort of motto. Oh, we are in the mode of being impatient. That's what he said. So they're not going to give Dubas 4 years to turn over these draft picks. Well, they might, I suppose, but they don't want him to take the 4 years to turn over all of this and get the baseline set. They don't want a Detroit slow boat sort of rebuild. They don't want that. Detroit doesn't want that. Steve Yzerman has painstakingly tried to rebuild through the draft, and they're still not there. 6 years into this in Detroit, and they're still not there. They're still not a playoff team. That's not what the Penguins want. So, again, Tyler, this is me reading tea leaves. This is me sort of giving my opinion on baseline facts. I think if Dubas can pull a few May, June trades, wherein he feels like the team is good enough to begin adding real pieces. Let's just say, trying to think, I know some of you have mentioned Gabe Velarde, but he's going to make too much. Let's just say Mason McTavish. Let's say they pluck Mason McTavish out of Anaheim. They get 5th or 6th overall pick, and there's somebody else. Don't know, don't care who. And they get like another young player. At that point, Dubas might see the arrow pointing up and feels confident enough to spend in free agency, not on 1 or 2 year plugs like he did last summer with Blake Lizotte and Matt Grzelcyk and so on and so forth, but maybe he goes a bit of big game hunting. He would have to necessarily be successful in June before he can go big game hunting in July. The odds of him being successful in June, to the degree to which I just described, slim. I think the most exciting thing you will see. Yeah, they'll probably trade 1 or 2 draft picks. They just have to. They have too many. I think the most exciting thing you will see from the Penguins is some RFA. It should go past the rumor stage. I do not doubt they will be making some phone calls and trying to swipe an RFA or 3. We really can't swipe 3. 2 would be about the max. Unless you get a really, a cheap one that doesn't cost anything under the 1.5 barrier. So that's what I think. Let me see if I have a picture of my motorcycle. I am quite proud of her. It's way back. I rarely take pictures of my own stuff. I ride a 2012. It's getting old. Victory Vegas. And it's an 8-ball. The pipes are all blacked out. The handlebars are black. Oh, there it is. Let me, I will share the screen here. I rode up to Foxburg. I took some friends up to Foxburg last fall. Let's see here. Here's, oh, I can share screen. Oh, there. There's my bike, the black. I wear a white helmet now because I had a few close calls in which I wasn't entirely thrilled with. I didn't think people saw me. In fact, I dumped that bike. I was kind of out in farm country behind Coriopolis, and this woman with her, kind of yelling at her kid in the back, get it, been there, done that, comes flying out of her driveway, never sees me. And I'm coming down a little slope, and I just, grabbed on for dear life, hoping I didn't hit her.
She kept going. She didn't even see me until she, heard the skids behind her. And I threw the bike sideways into her neighbor's yard as I went sliding past a mail post. I did like the Matrix thing as the mailbox post just literally, I could have stuck my tongue out if I didn't have my helmet on and licked the post. My head was that close to it. So I go sliding into the yard and she hits the brakes. And kids, if you ever cause a motorcycle wreck and you see a guy pick himself up or girl, see someone pick themselves up, do not walk over to them and say you were going too fast. Don't do it. Don't blame the motorcyclist. You might hear a few words that your children don't want, or you don't want your children to repeat. I may have done that. I may have torn her a new one without even realizing it. I mean, you just go through something like that. That was crazy. So I wear a white helmet because it helps a lot with visibility. Blah blah blah. You didn't really care. You wanted to see the bike. You saw the bike. I love victories more than Harleys because they're a little more powerful, a lot smoother, a lot more comfortable, and they're kind of cool. Okay, Michael's back. Lost a lot of readers or viewers of the motorcycle talk. Mine's sitting out front, and I cannot wait to hop on. I might take it to Wilkes-Barre. If the weather's warm enough next weekend, I very well might just hop on and go to Wilkes-Barre. Michael says, I wish we never got Erik Karlsson because of his cap hit. I wish we used that money to go after Ullmark, or did what the Caps did with their rebuild on the fly. Michael, I get what you're saying. The Capitals are kind of a poor example for the Penguins in so much as two of their stalwarts retired, walked away from the cap hit. TJ Oshie, Nick Backstrom. That freed them up. I mean, that would literally be like Evgeny Malkin and Chris Letang walking away. And leaving the Penguins with those big roster spots, but also money to fill them. The Capitals got extremely lucky in that Pierre-Luc Dubois has worked out. They spent very wisely on Jacob Chychrun. Incredibly shrewd and smart to get Logan Thompson for a song and a dance. 2 third-round picks for Logan Thompson? I couldn't believe. I was at the draft when that deal went down, and people were like, oh, well, Thompson hasn't proven to be an NHL goalie. I'm like, are you kidding me? I knew how good he was. I felt like, but I was definitely in the minority on that move and thinking the Capitals got a steal. So, yeah, I mean, if Pierre-Luc Dubois didn't work out for the Caps, I don't think would be a playoff team. I mean, that was that big of a swing that they took. Well, I mean, they might be a playoff team. The other thing the Capitals did, they kept their first-round picks. Protas, McMichael. Who's the other one I'm forgetting? They actually acquired Dahlin from Toronto, a first-round pick. Toronto, Kyle Dubas, didn't really see the value in him that much. Traded him. Traded a young defenseman. You get where I'm going to go with that next, so I don't even need to go there. Talk about big game hunting in free agency. Do I recall any successful great deals that Dubas has made in free agency? Does he already have some credibility, or is this a new challenge for Dubas? Well, John Tavares was a big deal in free agency. That was probably Dubas's biggest free agent get. I don't know. My issue or my analysis with Dubas's history to this point has been that he
falls in love with shiny toys. Erik Karlsson, John Tavares, very expensive, superfluous players on his team at the expense of depth. He would take one very good player over two good players. I probably, if I had Toronto's core, if I signed Tavares, I would have traded one of them, or I wouldn't have signed Tavares because that team needed desperate help in net and on defense, but yet they got Tavares. Those are, I think, I think that's just being honest. Yeah, more hockey cards, please, is correct. Very few free agency signings are great. Usually, the ones that work just work. Oh, man, you're going to get me in trouble. Okay, we've been going for an hour, so I am going to wrap this up momentarily. We get to the last question. This is last call for alcohol. Sorry, I'm late. Gable Fisk says, now that his career is obviously over, is it fair to say that St. Phil Kessel, ate his way out of the sport? I don't think you're entirely wrong there. I know for a fact that more than one coach implored him to get in better shape, to take care of himself, because when you're in your 30s, things change. And he didn't believe them. I'll always be able to shoot like that, or I'll always be able to skate down the wing and, rip one past the goalie. Well, by the time he was 32, he couldn't. So that might be harsh. He ate his way out of the sport, but he certainly was on the Ovechkin diet without being an Ovechkin build. That's for sure. I hope you're talking about motorcycles there, Rahul. Yes, Indian did buy my victory. And they've basically what Polaris did was they closed Victory. They bought Indian, used all the superior technology that they had acquired and developed on Victories. I mean, you ride a Victory, you Harley guys, you were like, holy crap, why didn't I buy one of these? Better than a Honda, just honest to gosh, I can't tell you how great a Victory bike is. They're just extraordinary machines. Hug the roads and so forth. So Polaris pulled off a fast one because they closed Victory. They bought Indian. And they used all of their Victory technology, but doubled the price with the Indian badge. Smart business if you can do it. Michael, we're going to wrap up on this one. Do I think Tomasino will be back or will he be moved? He's a young player that has a good shot and we need to stay younger. That will be a conversation between the two sides. Do not get enamored with Tomasino's age. Yes, he's young. His finishing ability is below average. Statistically speaking, he actually has a poor finishing ability. His, according to Money Puck, his shot talent, which is a fancy way of saying finish, has been 14 to 18% below average through his career. Now, that would be fine if he had a lot of other layers to his game. He's not good on the wall. I'm just being straight with you. I like the kid. He's not good on the wall. He's not tough to play against. He's not stiff in any of the three zones. He's not he doesn't outskate anybody. I mean, What he is a scoring winger with less than average scoring ability. That's a tough sell for me. I very much could see him being re-signed, but not qualified. Like, they're not going to qualify him. I would. They're not going to pay him $3 million next year, or 2.5, whatever qualifying offer would be. That would be silly to me. If he's willing to play on a contract befitting his production, I think you do re-sign him, but he very well could wind up in Wilkes-Barre next year. He really has to help his team win when he's not scoring. That isn't the case right now. Sullivan's laid that out, and Sullivan's 100% correct in this regard. That, Sullivan goes through his checklist on players, and you can tell with Tomasino they're trying, and the player is trying, but it's not front of mind to get in the wall and hit somebody and dig for the puck, or, And again, that's all well and good if you're going to convert an above average number of chances, but he converts a below average number of chances. Oh, here's a good question to end on. Do I think targeting too many RFAs will sour GMs with doing business? No. The horse finally, after 15, almost 20 freaking years of GMs tiptoeing around the RFA issue, Kyle Dubas helping St. Louis swipe those players, Dylan Holloway, Philip Broberg, from the Edmonton Oilers last July, and there was no pushback there. Listen, all of the major Canadian talking heads have already talked about it. This is the year of the RFA. There's a ton of them. And there's, a lot of their teams don't have the money to re-sign them. Ergo, if in fact there is not a summer of the RFA this year, what Marty, former Boston mayor, who's now the head of the NHLPA, I forget his last name. Oh, darn it. Marty should be in court before the fall suing for collusion. Just there will be RFAs stolen, swiped, signed this summer. My next podcast, Hogs and Hockey. No, I can't call it a hog. I don't ride a Harley, and I probably don't ever plan to. If and when this victory goes belly up, I've been thinking, okay, what would I buy? What would I buy? I probably will go back. I will probably go to like a BMW makes a cruiser. That seems like my speed. We'll see what the price is. Maybe if I can find a used Indian, which is basically a victory, I'll go that way too. I ride. Listen, I leave Pittsburgh, and in one afternoon, one day, I will ride up to Coudersport, have some ice cream. They've got the little handmade ice cream place there. Maybe stop at Sheets for an iced tea, and ride home. That's a lot of riding. I'll put 300-400 miles on in one day, no problem. I can be a little sore after all of that, but I definitely, a Harley would darn near kill me. The great Milwaukee vibrator. All right, kids, I will wrap it up there. Thank you very much. Thanks for letting me fix the microphone and let me know that it wasn't working. We'll have it all screwy again for next week. Have fun.